I used to be so afraid of sending a cold pitch or a cold email. So maybe you're feeling a little bit nervous too. But now when I do my marketing, it's as smooth as warm butter on toast. So I'm going to take you through a few different steps that I use for cold emailing, whether that's an LOI, letter of introduction, or sending a cold pitch, to make sure that you understand how that works, how we're putting all the pieces together, and how it can be not so scary. So when you're moving into cold emailing, cold pitching, LOIs, all of that good stuff, you have to understand that this is an expected thing. When you're talking to an editor, they expect you to send pitches. They expect you to reach out. They expect you to send these ideas over to them. When you're sending something to a business, it's a different story. So when you're sending something like an LOI to a business, you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, right? But when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, how do I put as many irons in the fire as I can? When I'm planting these seeds, when I'm putting things together, I want to plant as many seeds as possible. I'm not going to make assumptions about what's going on in their business. I'm not going to guess at every single project they're doing, because there's a lot of things that happen in a business that are behind the scenes. We have to send the LOI to make sure that we find out what's going on behind the scenes, and we're planting as many seeds as possible. When we're putting these things together, we want to make sure we kind of understand the formats. And this is something that I get a lot of questions about. And I think that's another reason why I made this a huge module in the Wealth Lab. This is all module 3. It comes with a huge tech library. It is the beefiest, meatiest module in the whole course. And it is the favorite module of all my students. Module 3, how do we actually learn to do our outbound marketing, send those LOIs, send those pitches, use the format, understand the types of clients that we're going after. That beefy part of our business drives the train. It is the wood that you are constantly putting in the fire. This is something that we may not always know when we get an answer, but you have to plant as many seeds as possible because it's a numbers game. That's something that I think is really hard to deal with sometimes. Are you doing it right? Is this the right template? Is this not a template? Who do I reach out to? Is this going to work? Those questions are less important than the numbers game. Yes, I can give you templates, and I do in the Wealth Lab. Yes, I can give you exactly who your clients are. Yes, I can give you every single step in a blueprint to make sure it's all working. But the goal is numbers. The goal is numbers. This is something that I think can be frustrating about marketing, where yes, it's a numbers game, and I usually track a response rate. So I'm usually looking for a 10 to 30% response rate on my LOIs. That helps me know that it's working. That helps me know if either it's what's going on in, the economy. Maybe I'm noticing a couple of trends going on with clients where they're not really doing work right now. So I kind of think, okay, maybe the LOI response rate will be lower, or there's a lot of stuff going on and it might be higher, or I'm sending more LOIs than normal. But it's always a numbers game. Whenever I talk to a writer and they're really struggling with getting enough work or having the right types of clients or understanding how to reach out to them, it's usually this pipeline. It's usually this LOI, cold emailing, pitching process that they just have to get their numbers up. So I think that's something that we're kind of starting with is, yes, sometimes it's scary, but editors expect you to send emails and they, with those pitches, right? They expect you to email those pitches in. The other thing is that your business clients, the right ones, they will not be posting on job boards. I talk about this all the time with my Wealth Lab students, where they're sitting in a cubicle crying their eyes out, wishing for help. They can't always go to their boss and say, hey, I need help. They don't always have the resources to hire someone full time. But if you show up in their inbox and you tell them, hey, I'm here to help, then we have work. There's almost, I would say, I haven't applied to a job board thing. I might apply to maybe a handful, like 1 to 3, maybe 5 at the most per year. It's pretty rare. And those are usually things where I just think I'm going to knock it out of the park. And I don't actually apply to the job board. I just send an LOI. But I think most of my client work over the past, most of my career, at least after I got off the platforms and I actually figured out how to do this thing after I burned out and made a mess, that has been sending LOIs and pitches, just actively going out and building my business. I think those are the things that really matter. Let's talk about 2. So what does that actually look like? What are we doing with this? How are we putting these things in place? So when we're putting these things together, there's 2 different formats I like. I have a pitch format. So if I send a pitch to a magazine, it's usually I have an article that I think would be a fit for this section of this magazine. I have a big juicy headline that matches the headlines that they have for their magazine. Then I have an intro paragraph that's talking about a question, or it's talking about an interesting stat, or it's something that follows the spicy, interesting format of the first paragraph of the articles they've already published. The second paragraph is questions I'm going to answer, experts I'm going to talk to, or any interesting information I need to add in. So sometimes the first two paragraphs are interesting information for the pitch. Then the third paragraph is questions I'm going to answer and experts I'll interview. Then the final paragraph, that fourth paragraph, ends up being a little bit about me. Don't go nuts. Just say something like, I'm an Austin-based freelance writer who's written for these magazines, or I'm a whatever freelance writer, I'm a fintech freelance writer who's worked with these clients or written for these magazines, or some kind of credibility statement, and then call it a day. So your format for your pitch for a magazine should be short and sweet and to the point. Make sure it's as close to the style and tone and format of that magazine that already exists, and just don't go crazy. Don't make the pitch like 3 pages long. Just get in and out, because we want to make sure that we respect the editor's time, but that we also have time to do other things in our business besides write one super long pitch instead of, let's say, 10 short to the point, let's move along pitches. The other format is our LOI format. This is why I always call them drive-through LOIs. Hi, do you like some kind of warm statement? Hi, some kind of warm statement. Do you need help? I'm qualified, which is basically I'm in your niche. Here are my past clients. Here's my portfolio or LinkedIn to check it out. If you want to hop on a call to talk about your needs, bye. That's it. We're driving by. Hi, do you need help? I'm qualified. Here's my portfolio. Bye. That's it. And I want to make sure that you understand that I came from a very long history of bad LOIs, okay? I sent a lot of bad pitches and a lot of bad LOIs. And some of my LOIs were multi-pages, and I just didn't realize that clients don't read those. They don't want to hear about how they should have a blog or how they should do this or whatever. This should be a quick intro, because we can talk about things that they need, right? Things they actually need help with on a call. If I go in there with my LOI, assuming that they need help with X, Y, and Z, or that they need this thing, or they have to have this thing, or because they don't have this thing, they're failing, that's not a good way to start that relationship. It's better to go in with your drive-through LOI, ask if they need help, right? Ask if they need help, tell them you're qualified, tell them that you've got a portfolio or LinkedIn, then ask them if they want to get on a call. That way, we start with more of an open mind. We can actually listen to their needs on the call. We can make sure that we're asking the right questions, which if you haven't gotten my seasoned veteran cheat sheet with the questions you should ask on a call, make sure you get it. Go to mandyellis.com/cheat sheet to get it. We're using those questions to filter out this information. What types of projects are they working on? Why are they working on? What are their goals, right? What are the types of things that they need to make sure that they are getting to the results that they want and it's working? And I feel like the LOI format is an easier way to make it less cold. It's kind of just leaving the ball in their court. When we're starting with a warm statement, we're asking if they need help. We're not just telling them you need this thing or you should do this, or kind of using our expertise against them. I feel like it's a great way to kind of open the door and then just listen to them on a call for what they're actually working on, what's going on behind the scenes. Magazines are a little bit easier because you can read 10,000 past issues. It's a lot easier to check the content, see where they're going, see if there's special issues, check what other types of articles have been written. But a business is a totally different game. You kind of have more space to work on new stuff or different stuff, or things where they're kind of meeting their audience at a different level. And I think that kind of helps with the LOI, leaving it open, allowing them to tell you what's going on in their business, and really getting to the place of understanding why they're doing that. Then you can use that to find better clients, to understand what types of projects you should offer, understand the goals of those projects, which you can put back into your LinkedIn copy or back into your website. I think those two things make a lot of sense together, and they kind of help you balance. They kind of help you balance, promoting yourself, right? Well, not promoting, but I always think of it as like asking if they need help. I think that's another thing with cold LOIs, is that there's this fear that you're doing too much salesy stuff or too much promotion. But really what ends up happening is you're just asking if they need help. If they don't need help, they won't answer. Or if they do need help, they'll answer you later. They'll do some kind of combo of that. when we're sending these cold emails, I feel like a lot of times it's this fear of that. But really, it's just asking if they need help. It's combining whether you want to do pitches or LOIs. We're actually doing this cold emailing, making it less cold. We are inviting them into the conversation, or we're sending an idea to a magazine rather than just saying, hey, do you have work? Right? We're actually building that bridge. I think that's really important. Number three that we're going to talk about is kind of getting over that fear and getting to that more advanced level. So getting over that fear, even writers that I've talked to who have been in the game for 5 or 10 or 20 years feel a lot of fear over upping their numbers. They're worried that people will judge them. They're worried that they'll get themselves too deep into a project they can't do. They're worried that it's not going to work. They're worried that they'll spend too much time and effort and it's not going to pan out. And I'm telling you, just like I started this video, it's a numbers game. You have to put more irons in the fire. Yes, we can have templates. Yes, we can figure out how to do that process. We can do that pre-filtering process that I teach in Module 3 of the Wealth Lab, where I teach you exactly how to wear your new pair of glasses to identify your best clients, which also means they're more likely to answer an LOI and have projects. So I teach you that whole process in the Wealth Lab in Module 3. I can teach you all that stuff, but it's still a numbers game. You still got to send them. And this is the other thing in that cheat sheet too. So in the Seasoned Veteran cheat sheet that you can grab at mandyellis.com/cheat sheet is I tell you how many LOIs or pitches you need to send. I tell you the process. I tell you about if you should follow up or not. I tell you exactly how to do all those little marketing activities that aren't so little. They are actually a really big impact. Think of it as planting seeds. We can't really control, or, irons in the fire is those are the two. So you can't control when the seeds are going to bloom. Your job is to just plant them. You can't control when the irons are going to get hot. You just have to put them in the fire. That's the thing. We're going to control what we can control. We're going to control the types of clients, the pre-filtering process, our new pair of glasses, understanding who's the right client for us, our LOI and or pitch template, and how we're going through our marketing processes, our cold emailing or our cold pitching processes. And then we have to just plant those seeds. We can't control who gets back to us, when they get back to us, what projects they have, what's going on their end. Our job is to keep putting those things there. And even if you send an LOI and someone gets back to you, you don't have to accept that project. You don't have to go in there and just say yes to everything because someone answered an LOI. You don't have to do more blog posts if you don't want to do more blog posts. But I feel like this is something where if you learn each part of the steps, it becomes more automatic. It becomes quicker. And you don't worry as much about the cold part or reaching out as you do about hitting the right numbers, or you make sure that you're putting that effort in every day. So for me, when I was trying to get to 50 to 75 LOIs a month, that's usually what I recommend. I know some people can send 100. I've never sent 100. So 50 to 75 LOIs a month or 1 hour a day on marketing. For me, the effort goal made a lot more sense. It kept me motivated. It helped me do other marketing activities like grow my network or connect with people who may not be ready to be a client yet. And then if they were, they got funding or some other thing happened, I could just send them a message on LinkedIn for free. I feel like a lot of times when we're kind of putting all these pieces together, it can seem really overwhelming to try to hit a number. If the number doesn't work for you, if 50 to 75 LOIs a month sounds like too much, fine. 1 hour a day. We have to move that train forward. We got to feed the beast. We got to put all those processes in place. And like I said, this is why Module 3 ends up being such a beast in the Wealth Lab, because it is packed with this very specific blueprint formula to follow so that you can start reaching out to those right clients and you can send those right kind of LOIs and pitches to people and get results, make things actually work. I think that kind of stuff really helps you see the process of finding those right clients for you in your specific business. And I think it also kind of takes that fear away. You kind of just start seeing it as like I said, like it's like a little Tamagotchi. It's like a little beast that you just have to keep feeding over time. You just have to keep feeding it. That's how we're putting our business together. And this is how most businesses work. Marketing is a numbers game. No matter if you are selling a cereal, or you're working with clients on content, or you're working on brand strategy, or you're working on web design, or you're working with an engineering platform, all of those things end up needing marketing, and that can be a numbers game, a percentage game. And I think that if we kind of just start with that piece, that it's a numbers game, then it kind of takes that fear away, and you know that if you send X amount, you're going to get some kind of reply, you're going to get some kind of answer, you're going to get a client. I used to tell myself all the time that even a blind squirrel finds a nut. My dad used to tell me that. So even if you screw up the process at every single point, even a blind squirrel finds a nut. And I used to feel like that because I had these horribly long LOIs that were just terrible. And they were multiple pages, and they were trying to convince people with all these stats of things they didn't need. And it was just dumb. And I still got clients. Out of that. So if we can make the process easier and smarter and more streamlined with less stress, why wouldn't we do that? If we can make the process less cold, if we can make the process more connection-based or more question-based or asking them what they need, why wouldn't we do that? I feel like that kind of helps the process a bunch. Last thing I'm going to say here is that when we're dealing with cold emails, when we're dealing with cold pitches, there are kind of different ways to do them. So when you're sending a cold pitch to a magazine, you're most likely going to email that in. You're going to need to find the editor's email address. That's always kind of a labyrinth because when you go to big publications, they can have 4 or 5 different email conventions. It can be a whole thing, but part of the puzzle and part of like the magazine test is that you can figure out their email address. That's kind of the thing. So don't send it to the black hole email that's like contact@magazine. Make sure you find the actual editor's email and you send it to them. When you're dealing with LOIs and putting all of those to businesses, sending all of those to businesses, you are either sending those through LinkedIn InMails or you're sending them via email. So I send them through LinkedIn InMails because that's where my clients are. My clients spend a lot of their time on LinkedIn, so I know that InMail is more attractive or whatever to them. And I've also done a bunch of tests. So I know for my business that when my clients are active on LinkedIn, they answer the InMail instead of the email. So that works really well for me. But if you need to send an email, which is totally fine, not every niche has huge piles of clients on LinkedIn. You can find their email. You can use hunter.io, or you can use a tool like Apollo or Wizza or LinkedIn Premium Sales Navigator to find their email and then send it that way. Those are kind of the two methods. Either you're sending it through email or LinkedIn message. I think for me, it's better to spend the money on wherever your clients are. So if you notice that your clients aren't on LinkedIn or they aren't answering InMails, I would just pay, if you need to pay for a tool, so Hunter and Apollo are both free, but if you need to pay for a tool like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, just do it. It's totally worth it if that's where your clients are and that's where you're going to get your marketing stuff. So I would make sure you kind of figure that out first. Are my clients active on LinkedIn? When I go to their profile, do I see in that activity box that they've been active? Okay, let me send the InMail. Then I can maybe put some money into that. Or maybe I don't have any money, which is how I started. I had no money and I just turned on LinkedIn for the free trial for 30 days, gathered as much info as I could, and then turned it off. Or I would use hunter.io or other email finding tools to send them through email because that was free and I could do that. So you kind of have to balance money and financials. Can you pay for a tool? Where are your clients? Where's kind of the bang for your buck in terms of doing your marketing? I think that kind of approach makes your marketing land better too, because you're not just throwing stuff into the ether, right? You're not doing that spray and pray kind of marketing. You are figuring out where your clients are, where they hang out, and sending your messages there. So whether that's LinkedIn or whether that's email, it really depends on your clients. But I would kind of think through that process. So we've gone through a bunch of different things with cold emailing, cold pitching. I think that should help you get over the fear a little bit, but also help you understand that it can be just a flat numbers game. We can just take all of the emotion part out of it and just say it's literally a flat numbers game. If I'm sending more, I'm going to get more work. That's just bottom line. And this happens in my own business. I know that the ebb and flow in my business can happen from not sending enough LOIs to having a lower amount of work later. So make sure that you keep up that pipeline. We want to get rid of that feast and famine. We want to take the fear out of cold emailing and move on to the next step. So I hope that this has been helpful. If you haven't grabbed my free seasoned veteran cheat sheet, go to mandyellis.com/cheat sheet. It'll tell you exactly what to do. It'll give you a checklist for all your marketing stuff. It also tells you questions to answer on your LinkedIn and a website to make sure that you're getting the right clients and getting the right leads in. It also gives you questions to ask on a client call to filter out the right clients for you, and then how to onboard your clients. So I hope that that's all helpful for you. And next time we're going to be talking about how we're going to set up kind of a LinkedIn content strategy. So this is something I don't often talk about, but I feel like it would help you to kind of see the visual of how your LinkedIn profile works with posting, with how the LinkedIn profile is set up. So we're going to go over that next time, and I hope to see you there.